Hello, my name is Niall McKay and welcome to Living with PSC, a podcast about the rare disease of primary sclerosing cholangitis. Now, PSC causes the bile ducts inside and outside the liver to become scarred, narrowed and eventually blocked, and leads to liver cirrhosis. In this podcast, we aim to dispel some of the myths about the disease. Today we are talking with Joanne Hatchett, who's the Medical Science Liaison for PSC Partners, who's going to tell us all about the conference this year, which was held in Henderson, Nevada in June. Joanne, how did you get on at the conference this year?
Niall, I just thought the conference was the very best thing that has happened in a very long time. And I really wish you could have been there.
I'm not allowed to travel yet, unfortunately. Hopefully that will change soon, but I'm just post a transplant myself. 4 months at this stage. I'm recovering nicely, so hopefully I'll be allowed travel for next year's conference.
That would be wonderful, and congratulations on your transplant. I just have to say, attending this year's conference was amazing. It's actually was the first time that we were able to meet in person in 4 years. The last time was actually 2019. One of the things that I enjoyed absolutely the most this year was to be able to stand there and just watch people greeting each other. It was just such a pleasure. And then just being there while people talked to each other, seeing how happy they all were, truly was a great experience.
When I came to my first conference, it felt a bit like the first day at school. You know, I wandered in the door and wandered up to the desk, and I was just like, who are these people? What am I doing here? Because you're so traumatized by the illness and by everything about it. And yet I knew I needed it. It was in upstate New York in Princeton, I think. But I have to tell you, Joanne, one of the people I met at that conference was John Crowley. And I can tell you, when I was in hospital and when I was very much feeling the effects of the steroids and the painkillers after my operation, or at least what I'm trying to tell you is I was as mad as a brush. I was completely crazy at this stage, because the drugs do funny things to you and your body's been through so much. And I called John Crowley, who I met at the desk that first time when I went in. And we talk regularly on the phone. We're like online support buddies, we just call each other up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how's it going? What's this going, And that's just one of the relationships that I have since my first conference at PSC Partners. And he was actually assigned to be my buddy at that time, and we're still
your mentor. So John was your mentor. Excellent. And that's one of the really important aspects. And what you just described is what I've heard so often from people, because a lot of people hold back to, I really want to go to this conference or not.
Even in the time that I've had PSC, which is like 8-9 years, we know a lot more about the disease, But the clinicians who I was dealing with just didn't know an awful lot about the disease. So I had asked them for help with a patient group, and they had put me on to you guys, luckily. So when I went to the conference, I didn't know that PSC affected your sleep, for example. I didn't know how many, and these were all things that I had learned at the conference. Not to mention that was the year when the medical evidence to say to people, look, this 10-year lifespan that you've been given by your doctor or that you will find when you Google PSC is not true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which was a great comfort to see, because I'm coming up in 10 years now. So I'm glad it's
No, my son now is coming close to 20 years. What you're describing, though, is so common because Willie McKinney is one of our board members. And one of the things that he has said is, I looked at the conference and I saw these pictures of people and they were all happy. And so how can this conference be with happy people?
It's sort of a special type of person at the conference, isn't it?
The people who have been to conferences, who have had PSC for several years, and they've been reading and learning more, They are educated, they do want more, and they are different, as you said, than physicians who talk to other patients who may not have nearly the interest in education. In addition, though, at the conference, we usually have about 35 to 45% new people attending. This year was amazing. We had so many newcomers, and many came with their families. So our numbers this year were 144 newcomers, which was about 65% of the attendees.
Wow.
The wonderful part was having so many new people join us.
Why did you choose to do Henderson, Nevada? Because normally, like, I've been to the Mayo Clinic, I've been with the Cleveland Clinic. It's a sort of a suburb of Vegas.
It's actually only about 10 minutes from the airport. And so historically, we have always met at a large medical center, and most of the speakers came from that university or other nearby academic centers. Really, the biggest issue was the PSC Partners team and board of directors wanted to try to minimize any potential COVID risks as much as possible. So we wanted meals outside. And then the other major issue was cost. We need at least 19 meeting rooms, because we have to divide people into small enough groups.
The reason why we divide up into so many peer groups is because we separate generally men from women. Many people with PSC also have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, and they may not feel comfortable in mixed company sharing about certain symptoms, shall we say.
Right. Yeah.
And we also split it by age. Psychologically, dealing with PSC when you're 17 is vastly different from dealing with it when you're, say, 57.
People with PSC, we divide them into the 20s, 30s. So we have a teen group, the 20s, 30s group, and then 40 plus. The age ranges make a difference.
What were the other sort of unique things about the conference for you?
In 2022, we had a virtual conference, and in that year, it was, I believe, June 2022, PSC Partners launched the ICR Network. And what that stands for, International Collaborative Research Network, so we call it ICR Network, where people with PSC, caregivers, researchers, clinicians, regulators. This year we had people from FDA and National Institute of Health, the NIH, plus industry, all working together with the patient's voice as a central focus. And the whole purpose of the ICR network is for this large group of people with PSC and those interested to spark collaboration and drive patient-driven research. So this year, the Resnick Family Center for PSC Research funded the first in-person scientific convening, which happened the day before and the first day morning of the conference.
In the past, drug development companies would go and develop drugs that they saw fit to develop, but they would have, not enough contact, particularly with rare disease groups. We're gathering these groups of people and saying, look, we need drugs that address this issue, or we need research that looks into this area, because we know what we need because we have the disease.
Researchers, scientists who met together to look at all aspects of PSC, all the way from basic research to more of the how, like you said, how do we care for patients? How do we look for new treatments? That was the entire purpose.
You had people from Norway, people from Canada. I believe that the other big research, did you have somebody from Germany and Italy as well presenting at that?
From Austria, yes.
Great, as well as from the United States, of course.
Absolutely, United States and Canada. And we also had some patients representing through our board and research committee. And what was so exciting about this aspect is, so we had all these international PSC researchers and clinicians, and these experts then gave presentations during the general sessions and breakout groups at the PSC conference. Not only were they giving talks, but they ate meals with conference attendees. Everyone mixed and talked during the breaks. And so we just found so much synergy in people being together. The researchers actually enjoyed getting to talk and learn directly from PSC patients, spouses, caregivers, and the response from our community was amazing.
I saw that Espen Mellon, for example, from Norway, presented a talk on the microbiome. Now, we've interviewed him here on this podcast. If you go down and look at previous podcasts, you'll find him there. He's one of the world leaders on microbiome research for PSC.
One person said, "Thank you for allowing me to be a part of such an inspirational meeting. It meant so much to me to be present for the discussions and then to meet so many patients." And another person said, "Thank you for having me. The meeting, both academically with interactions from other researchers and with patient interactions, far exceeded my expectations, which were high to begin with. I think that this was the experience of virtually everyone I talked to."
Particularly researchers, they're kind of beavering away in a lab somewhere, and the patients to them at that stage may be sort of statistical. You know, if they're studying biomarkers or whatever, there would be some biological data, but they're not people. But so I suppose it makes a difference to meet people that you're trying to help, but never actually meet.
Exactly. And that's a common thing that comes up. I've never met someone. And so and many of the patients in their evaluations made similar comments about how enjoyable it was to actually be able to talk to these people as they were sitting eating lunch or dinner.
I found the same myself.
I got there and I was met by one of the most amazing, wonderful people, Tim Hooley, who greeted me at the door. And within moments, I was like, This is wonderful. I just felt great. We asked in the conference survey about their favorite moment. And I have to tell you this quote because it was so amazing. This person said their favorite moment was that time that I realized how comfortable I was being there. I'm not exactly the outgoing social type. Usually I'd just sit alone and listen. I was very comfortable right away and got into the discussions.
And Tim passed away last year, wasn't it?
Which
I'm deeply saddened by, because many of my most enjoyable moments of the conference were talking to Tim. I have to say. He had a wicked sense of humor.
Such an amazing, amazing person and sorely missed. He also, you mentioned talking to Tim at the conference. That really reminds me of how important our mentor program is for the conference. So what we have is the Mentors is now a year-round program. And so we have people who are experienced, either who have PSC or family members, caregivers, also siblings to talk to other siblings. They're available for folks who are newly diagnosed or for someone who might be in the midst of a change in their medical condition, and they really want to talk to somebody else about what's happening to them. So this mentor program is really special. And before the conference, we specifically asked, do you want to mentor? And we connect people. They talk before they've been to the conference. And then at the conference, we have mentor meetups, which again is one of my most favorite things to watch, is to see these people who have been conversing, email or phone, and then they meet each other. And so they're there to listen, to help people get more comfortable. And then again, anybody who needs a mentor during the year, they just need to ask.
Tell us about the fun that you had at the conference. I know Marisa, my wife, went a bit nuts with karaoke one night. There's a big photograph of her and Emmett with jazz hands as they're singing something or another.
There is a lot of fun at the conference. And so we've already talked about just being able to talk with people, like you said. The Saturday evening gala dinner and party are typically always fun. This year, instead of karaoke, and again, we did this because of COVID, there was a trivia contest that people totally enjoyed, and line dancing was great fun. I wasn't there that late, but I heard there was a little bit of karaoke that happened too. We also had a great new activity called the PSC Community Space, and that was to help encourage conversations and sharing, where our ambassadors team posted questions where people could write answers to questions like, how long did it take you to get a diagnosis? Or on your PSC journey, what have you found inspirational? What gives you strength or hope? What do you wish the doctors could do to manage your PSC better? So there were a number of questions. People wrote answers, and then the questions and responses were posted up on whiteboards. And just watching people read those, talk to each other about it, it was very good. We also, one of the nice parts is we have volunteers doing so many things at the conference. Believe it or not, we typically have 90 to 100 volunteers and had close to 90 this year.
Yeah, I volunteered the first year because I always find that that's a great thing to do when you're in a situation where you don't know a lot of people and you might feel a bit self-conscious. And this podcast came out of volunteering, actually, because myself and Marisa volunteered one year to do some short videos with some of the experts talking about, particular aspects of the illness or whatever. And out of that came the idea and then the podcast, so.
Historically, as you know, at the Saturday evening gala dinner, that is when the following year's conference is announced. Well, this year, we had a very short time frame to pull this conference together and did not have the time to figure out, okay, what happens next year? So what I want people to know is PSC Partners is now actively working on next year's annual conference. We hope to be able to announce the date and location for 2024 as soon as we possibly can. And if you have other thoughts or questions, suggestions, please know you can submit them to contact us at pscpartners.org, and that's right there on the website. What I do want people to know, though, is ongoing. PSC Partners have the peer-to-peer Zoom rooms, which are virtual, and they happen every month. And then in December, we're going to have a special Zoom room. We'll be announcing that meeting really, really soon. Remember, too, the sign up for mentors is available year-round. So if someone wants to talk to a mentor, don't ever hesitate. And please, I hope everybody signs up for the newsletter, because that just gives so much information, not only about Niall's podcast every month, but information about the latest research and things that are going on. So for any of these issues, please feel free. I'm available anytime to someone, Joanne, Joanne, at pscpartners.org. So we're always there for you.
Following this, I'll be talking to Steve Rossi, who will fill us in on all the scientific aspects of the conference, the research that was presented, and the sessions that happened, the research conference beforehand, the first research conference before that took place with all the doctors and clinicians and stuff before the actual PSC conference for the patients. And he will be filling us in on developments, scientific developments that have happened in the area of the research and treatment of primary sclerosing cholangitis. Well, Joanne, this has been wonderful talking to you. I'm so glad that you had a good conference this year. I'm sure wherever it is, we'll have a good conference next year, and hopefully we'll all be able to join you there.
Very good. I look forward to it. And thank you so much.
Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this week. For more information about PSC and for a list of people and topics we'll be covering in the near future, please go to www.pscpartners.org. That's www.pscpartners.org. PSC Partners is a non-profit organisation dedicated to providing education and support to primary sclerosing cholangitis patients. There is information and resources on the website. There is a conference once a year. There is a private Facebook group that you can also join. Also, please join our patient registry. This is an anonymous database that provides research support to the medical community who are researching this disease. Thank you very much for listening.